Excellent. All right.
Geoff Clapp, drummer, band leader, composer, all around good human being. What's happening, man?
Hey, Greg, what's up, man? It is so good to be here with you, man. Thank you for having me. And
yeah, man.
There's nothing like old friends.
Indeed, man. Indeed.
You can't go out and get them. That's not optional.
It's called, yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's cultivating.
Yeah, exactly. Cultivated. Yeah. Multi-cultivated.
That's right.
That's a good one. Wait, that's a whole movement right there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, man, where I first actually heard you. I was thinking of that this morning, and I was like, yep, it was at a place in Maryland. I'm trying to remember the name of the club. It was in oh my goodness, what was the name of that place? But I had it was in Maryland, and it was the Charlie Hunter Quintet. Yep.
It was
Annapolis.
Yeah, Annapolis. Oh my,
Annapolis,
no
Maryland.
way, man. That's where we were meeting at?
I was living in the DC area was what it was.
Wow.
And man, he had brought out this record called Right Now Move that just hit me just all crazy. I was a fan of his previous stuff, you know, but when I heard this quintet, I went crazy. And the closest show to me at that time, it was 2003 maybe, was in Annapolis. And I drove like maybe 45 minutes and caught the show. And I was like, man, I haven't heard of this Geoff Clapp guy. But man, I really appreciate the colors and the use of like palette. There's a groove going, but there's what I'll call a linear groove happening where like the groove is evolving. There's still a beat, but the beat is evolving. And the way that he's expressing this with different tambourines and percussions on the drum set, I had never really heard that approach before. And I was like, wow, man, that's a really interesting cat. And then fast forward to maybe 3 years later, I'm back in Nashville by that time.
Okay.
And I was good friends with Derek Phillips also through Charlie Hunter. And I'm at a club where we all used to play. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Derek gets off the drums, and there's this big, handsome cat gets on the drum set and just starts just swinging. And I'm like, man, this ride beat, that's New York. And I look up, I was like, dude, that's the guy I saw with Charlie. That's Geoff Clapp.
Wow, I didn't know that, man.
So I go up, and that's how we met. And I'm sure you had just moved to Nashville at that time, and we played. We did a gig in the park, actually with my wife Dara, and we've been in touch.
Yes, I remember that gig
ever since. Yeah,
1 in the afternoon. Yeah, I remember that. It was a very soulful, like just cool, down to earth. I remember doing that gig and thinking, this is so New Orleans.
Wow.
People just put music in a park and add some food trucks, and I remember we parked in that lot. Wow, bro.
Yep. That's
let me turn that off.
Sure.
Man, that's crazy, Greg. And I remember you and I went, I think, after we played to get some food together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exactly right.
You and I always had a really good instant connection.
True.
I do remember meeting you now in Annapolis, man. It was very briefly. And John Ellis and Curtis Falk.
That's right, man. And Gregoire Murray.
Yeah. And Gregoire Murray. Oh, my God. Wow. Yeah, I learned a lot with that man. Actually, I was just subbing for Derek Phillips.
Wow. Okay.
I think Derek was doing something else, and I would be like one of those guys he would call and like go to California for 2 weeks or Boston. And I remember that was one of our best gigs, like as far as it was a really small stage in the center of the room. I remember that.
That's it, man. That was it. Yeah.
I did not know that is where we met, but now you say
that was it. And it's funny though, you just brought up New Orleans, and I want you to talk about that a little bit. Now, you're originally, Geoff, from North Carolina, right?
Yeah, I'm Tar Heel all the way.
Gotcha.
Still in my mind, I'm in Carolina all the time.
Indeed.
But my heart is in New Orleans.
Man, when did you move,
you know,
and how did you really come to embrace that city? When did you take out for New Orleans the first time?
man, I was I'll tell you the story. I moved there in '89 to study with Ellis. And
Ellis
Coca-Cola
Marsalis.
had a grant they gave Ellis and the University of New Orleans somehow, and then got him from VCU. I'd heard Ellis with Clarence Penn and Clarence C in '88, and I was like, what? And I just heard Wynton and Hurlin like 3 months earlier in Winston-Salem, this downstairs jazz club. And I remember the owner of the club would make these cool silk ties, and that was, that's when the ties started coming in. And so I was like, man, this is so different than the jazz we're playing in jazz band in School of the Arts for high school. It's nothing like it at all. I was like, okay, I like this, because the other stuff I just didn't. I was like, this is not really, it's cool, but I don't get it. And so I met Wynton, and we were in his hotel room with trumpet player Antoine Dry was there, and then Will Tipton, this classical trumpet player, and so Will said one Saturday, he's like, man, take me to Chapel Hill. I want to do a lesson with Wynton Marsalis. And it was a classical lesson. So I was like, cool, man. Actually, this is before all that. This is how I met him.
Yeah.
And so we met him. He was in the hotel room and like t-shirt and boxers. And every time Wynton would play, I would be like, what? Just sound, sound, beautiful sound, huge sound. And Wynton said, hey, you want to come see the show that night? And we did. And I think Tane had just left the band 3 weeks earlier. And I remember Wynton backstage saying, man, I wish you could have heard Tane. He's something else. But he's like, you're going to like this drummer because he's real lyrical. And he's swinging. He's just like, dude, he just swings. And I didn't know what that meant yet. I was like, yeah, cool. And so I saw Hurlin play with Marcus Roberts and Bob and Veal, maybe.
Okay.
So after the show, Hurlin was showing me how to do brushes on his. You remember those hard drum cases, the big.
Okay. Yeah.
And he was just the nicest dude, and his spirit, just like he would. I was like, man, this is a really cool dude. And Wynton walked by and put his hand on my shoulder and said, you should go study with my dad in New Orleans if you like Hurlin. And I was like, and then that was it. I went there in '89 and started school, and it's like Jeremy Davenport, Chris Thomas, and
wow.
Eventually Nick Payton, Brian Blade, and God, man, Martin Butler, so many people, David Moore, Bryce Winston, the dude played all these great, Neil Kane, all these super heavy. We were all very into what we were doing, It's like we were tunnel vision, Greg. Like I'm sure you've been there, man. and so I just threw away all my Police, my Rush, my Led Zeppelin, my Cream, the Turtles, all my classical Respighi, and I was like, I am learning how to play like Max Roach on saxophone Colossus.
Wow.
All those Max Roach records, and then obviously we play with Ellis all the time, and Harold Batiste was there, and Harold. We would go in. I remember listening to Ahmad Jamal all the time with Blade in Harold's office on cassette.
Sure.
And then on vinyl, and we would put them to cassette. And then I just remember what really got me was it kind of humbles you, and you realize like what a deep tradition music is in New Orleans. It is New Orleans, and the food and the people and the musical family. But there's some rules. Like,
tell us about that.
The rule was on Harold Batiste. It said, "But can he play?" And I mean that. And then you would go and hear Danny Barker at the Palm Court, and you would hear the real trad jazz, not Dixieland, none of that swing. It's traditional, and there was a tradition that you had to know. And follow, man. Those tunes, those forms are just much different, It's not like it's not A a lot. It's a lot of turnarounds. And so I learned how to play music on the drums, and I had to unlearn everything I ever learned about keeping a beat. Relearn it lyrically, and to keep it moving like a buggy ride or a ship or just like a train. And it had to have forward motion to it.
Yeah.
As opposed to the walk the dog, walk, you know.
Sure.
It was a groove, a beat, but really what I learned from there was when I did a lot of funerals and second lines. And Herlin took me with Shannon Powell to do Stanley Stevens' funeral. If you look at any 80s, you know, Stanley was Ellis's old drummer. He was modern and traditional, but he passed away. And then bruh, look, man, this cat, it was Herlin and Shannon, and they were going around in a circle in front of Stanley's house on Prairie Street, which is kind of, I think, the 7th ward, man.
Okay.
It's above near Claiborne and Canal Street. So it's near the quarter. And you're steep. I mean, we had just spent an hour going, just do, you know. And Herlin just said, stop playing and just watch me. And I was 20 years old and no idea what I was about to witness. And so that was almost like them opening the door and saying, here's our oral tradition for you. You know, you're a guest in the house right now. And I'm gonna tell you, Greg, it's like when you're in church, you get hit by the Holy Spirit, and it was so deeply spiritual, but yet so like, God, it was community, man. It was folk music. It was about the community. And when Herlin and Shannon went in a circle, you know, you're like, oh, and I just had chills, but I was like stuck. This is so deep, and it was almost scary to a point. Like, man, didn't even know this existed. You know, being from North Carolina, and then I realized it was just for the mama, and it was to celebrate his life, man. And you could feel the love.
Absolutely.
And you could also see the tradition of when a musician passes on, they're not forgotten, they're celebrated. They are history in that city.
Absolutely.
So anybody you say Stanley Stevens, if they know, they know.
Sure.
You know? And so these young cats today, I'm like, man, go back and study the quarter note and figure out how to swing on your snare drum. Then you take it to the drum. Then you take it to the cymbals, man. And so that, I know I'm kind of all over the place, but that really was the pivotal point for me. Like, okay, I am going to learn how to play this music. I have to. I mean, it wasn't really like I had to. I just really wanted to, and impress Mr. Marsalis. I wanted to get his stamp of approval as his student and get on his gig. You know,
that's amazing, man.
Yeah, that was the turning point. Yeah,
that's where you were going, and that's where I was going too. Like, obviously, man, you got the gig with, you know, pardon my informality, Ellis Marsalis, the great pianist, educator, composer. Man, tell me.
Man, he was a friend, bro. He was a friend.
Yeah.
He was a mentor. Yeah. Of anything, he was a mentor. Sorry.
No. It's good. Because obviously that connection, he felt enough from you to want to give you a shot. Obviously, you had something together where he could cultivate, you know, talk about that call or that office visit where he said, hey man, I want you to come on the bandstand. Tell me about that time.
Well, you know, because at Snug Harbor, like Rudy's in Nashville or the Vanguard in New York, that's the spot, bro. It's a holy place of tradition and moving forward. And so Ellis, you would go and hear him, and it was Jason Marsalis and David Lee Jr. and Martin Butler, Brian Blade, Shannon Powell, Johnny Vidal, everybody, right?
Wow.
Bill Huntington was his bassist at the time. So I was fortunate enough to play gigs with Bill and Mike Polera at a hotel, and I had to play brushes. So that's a whole nother university in itself. But it led me to the point where Bill and I would connect on the beat. And then when I finally, after sitting in for 2 or 3, 4 years with Ellis, I'm walking down the hall one day, and I was just visiting, you know, I was actually gone. And he said, hey, what you doing Friday night? I was like, I'll come check you out. He said, when you want to be on stage? Yes, sir. And so immediately I went, you know, get my metronome, go to the practice room, and just start learning all those James Black tunes, man.
Sure. Sure.
Magnolia Triangle, because I know it's coming. I know it's coming, bro. And I know he doesn't announce tunes. He just plays it, man. He plays, what's that Herbie tune? D student D do do we don't.
Bedtime Story.
Bedtime Story. And so that bar 5, all that stuff, I would mess it up so many times for months, and I finally got it. And he said, Mr. Clapp, why don't you just give me a quarter note and we'll do tang, 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 tang. So he's like, I need something against me because you're going with me and it doesn't have any, he doesn't have any tension.
Interesting. Interesting.
Oh, and he was, I need you to play, he's like, be you, but play strong. I need you to play stronger, ride. Don't play so pretty, And what he was saying was, hey, look, this cat did this thing. You need to do your thing. This is why I hire Shannon Powell sometimes, because he's got that quarter note. And Jason Marsalis, man, his quarter note just, Martin Butler. So it was all about learning where E would put his quarter note and then pushing him. So here's E, you're right here, always a little ahead to get his thing. Because if you went with him, it would, you know what I mean? It just would not. Because the dude was I've never in my life felt that kind of swing, bro, like on stage.
That's amazing.
I mean, there's cats, yes, but that was just some deep, lifelong, crap, man. And I listen to him today, man. I get emotional because it just feels there's so much joy and life in his feel. And I remember calling him one day. I said, hey, man, I was checking out Baba Blackbird, around about midnight. And he's like, I was like, how does Red and Philly and PC, how do they get to that swing, bro? And he would just kind of think. He said, well, they played together a lot. He's like, they just did. I was like, what does that mean? Like, he would never really answer me, but he would sort of put me on this, So I was basically just like, just do it. Just just concentrate, just swing. Don't try to swing, just swing.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so Herlin would say, once you're there, just be comfortable with that tempo for the whole song, whether it moves up or down. Just give into it.
Right on, man. Right on. Yeah. And after working with Dr. Marsalis, you got the bug. You wanted to come eastward to New York.
Yeah.
Man, talk about that process and what led you to that and what you found. When you got here. I'm curious about that too.
Well, I early on in my career, the Marsalises were hugely, they shaped me and they gave me a lot of direction. But they also kind of just went like this, here's the world, go do your thing. So I lived with Wynn for about 3 months in his library, and I would do a couple gigs with like Benny Green or Cats, and I would go hear Dwayne Burno with Jesse Davis and mind blown. Joe Chambers.
So this is This is like the.
This is 92. 92. Okay. So I got to New York for 3 months, and I was like, bruh, I ain't ready for New York. I heard Kenny Washington, Bill Sharp. I was like, I'm not ready for this. So I went back and came back like 7 years later.
Okay.
And when I came back, I had a voice. I knew who I was. I had a pretty good beat. And I knew what I didn't want anymore, and I didn't want to play second lines anymore. I didn't want to play New Orleans tunes. I'd gone through that.
Okay.
It was time for me to move on. And so I got to New York, but yet Herlin still took care of me. He would have me sub for him in rehearsals for Lincoln Center and do some gigs. Went out with Walter Blanding,
Great player, Oh my
God, his sound, bro. So getting to know Walter, playing some gigs with Eric Reed, and just Brad Lely. Brad Lely, man?
I don't know him.
Man, he's a bad dude. I know he's the head jazz dude over at North Texas now.
Okay.
But that's not the Brad. I knew Brad in Brooklyn that played at Pumpkins on Flatbush every Sunday from 4 to 7. That was my main income. I knew I could get $100 every Sunday.
Sure.
Hang out with Brad. And another old soul, man. Real soulful, kind of Cannonball soulful dude.
Oh, wonderful.
And Brad would give me little tips, like only that New Yorkers would, and straight up, like, hey, man, what are you doing? Why are you playing your left hand so much? Are you not listening to me? Like during the gig, which is what you need as a youngster. And but I would go hear cats play on such a high level. Peter Bernstein, Bill Stewart, and this is when like a lot of cats, and obviously I would hang with Greg as much as I could.
Greg Hutchinson.
And ironically, Greg, we would never talk about the drums. We would talk music and we would talk life and other stuff, but I learned more osmosisly from him because I'd go to his gigs with him and just watch him and be like, what the crap? And Rodney Green was up there killing it, and I can't remember his name. He used to play with Terrence Blanchard, drummer that went to Berkeley. He's got his own Oracle.
Oh, Kendrick Scott.
Yeah, so Kendrick was coming down a lot, and I would see young cats that were younger than me, but like killing. Dude, I would have gigs at. This is my training ground. It was called. I don't know if it's still there. The Cleopatra's Needle.
It just closed, I think, last year, maybe.
Oh, man.
But I've heard a lot of stories about Cleopatra's. So you were there.
Yeah, Jeremy Pelt. I would play with Eric Lewis a lot, and Robert Glasper. This is before he was black. He would come up and we'd do gigs. Toro Dodo.
Wow.
And I just remember one time I went to the Zildjian factory with Hutch, and we picked cymbals out. And he got this. This is when the Bill Stewart cymbal had just came out. And he got a prototype that sounded horrible, but he picked it. I mean, it was like clangety. And then they played so well with him and Eric Lewis, bro, and he touched on that thing. And I mean, the room was like, oh my Lord.
Yeah.
You know, just little stuff like that, seeing it from the factory on the gig and then seeing him play it. You can't get that on YouTube, bro. You cannot get that on YouTube. And so little experiences where your mind is blown. Like, man. And then I would hear him in Tane every Monday at the Zinc Bar.
Yeah.
That, you know, and bro, we would hang out in the back and do what we did, and then he would play. And I remember hanging with Donald Edwards. We're sitting at a table, and Donald spilled a Heineken by accident. And without a second going by, you just hear Tane go, Spilly Joe. You know, just little funny, just like only in New York, man. That's the thing. Those are the things I remember, that cats were just wanting to hang and play, but really serious.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
You know, a lot of egos, like anywhere, but you would gravitate towards the dudes that were real.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, man.
But you're in New York now, right?
Yeah. We moved just before the pandemic, barely, January of 2020. And, you know, we were coming up here twice a year, you know, for the last 7-8 years or so. So we know the monster that New York can be, as well as the accelerator that New York is. And, you know, that's kind of, you know, beyond the music. You know, people tell you, hey man, you know, you need to be on the scene. It's not just about playing, it's about hanging and finding your set and being, you
finding
know,
your tribe.
Exactly. You know, and you know, we know each other. You know, we're friends, and I feel like I can ask you, you know, how did you know, deal with the hang? You know, was it too intense? Did you find it, you know, constricting? Did you find that you had to do more of it to feel like you fit in? Just
all of that, everything you just said, you feel all those feelings. And so, Greg, you navigate that. Obviously, I don't do anything now. I don't drink, smoke up, nothing. So I wish I could do it now. I would probably absorb a lot more. A lot of my time there, I would go and try not to let cats know I was there if I was in the learning mood. But then sometimes you're just in the hang mood. So, you know, and you would just go hang, and it'd be a loose hang, or you'd go to, I think it closed down, Smoke.
Yeah, no, it's still there. Oh,
it is. Oh, that's not Smoke. The other one, the
Augie.
On the east side, like in the 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. So jazz something. Anyway, so I would go and hang with. I would see Bill Stewart and Clarence, or Clarence was seeing Bill Stewart, and you'd see the flip of the flop. Or I would go down this thing, and Tane would be checking out Roy Haynes. you know, and I found that you have to respect those who've been there longer than you. And you have to come to New York, like, go ahead and humble yourself, because if you don't, it will humble you really fast. Not just life, but I mean, there's a lot of cats who kind of are been there a while, and they just kind of watch youngins come in and either stay or go.
Yeah.
I was there for a long time. I loved it there. I felt like artistically you grew exponentially, like the Accelerator, but as a human being, it was kind of toxic and not very healthy.
Tell me about that.
Because of the alcohol, because of the drugs, because of the marijuana. I mean, a lot of cats would smoke more and do more stuff to get here, but in fact, they were just going here. And I was one of those cats for a while. I did really great. I had a lot of great gigs. Oscar Perez was one of my favorite. You know, I would work a lot with Melissa Walker, and you know, I will tell you a story. So if you want real talk, man, you know, I used to do some substances, and I just remember having some opportunities that the pressure of the city had gotten too much for me as a Southerner, as a sensitive Southerner. And I was doing some stuff, and I had this morning session in Jersey with Melissa Walker, but Christian was on bass. And, you know, I kind of lost a lot of respect from Christian towards me because I didn't perform and because I was hungover. And so those kind of opportunities only come in New York City, I feel like. And if I had been on my game and who I am now, hopefully, you know, my name, he could have, hey man, call Clapp. But sometimes you get shut down if you're an idiot, is what I'm saying. If you go out there and you act fool, or, you know, and I've done that, which is great. I wouldn't give it up for anything, Greg, because it's gotten to be where I am now. It's who I am now. I don't live by my mistakes. They've molded me and helped me, but I don't regret that. But I'm gonna tell the young cats, you know, just your gift is enough, man. Just that hunger to grow and be humble, that's enough to keep you, it'll keep you working and just stay mature about whatever you do. And especially in New York City, especially because it's a microcosm. It's really small. It's not that big, really. Cats know, cats talk. You do a session at people's house. So I would say some of the release of that pressure was meeting all these new people, John Chen and, you know, whoever, Renee Hart. Gerald Cannon would hire me a lot, and with Sherman Irby up in Harlem, and Greg Bryant, the organist,
the organ, Greg Lewis, the organ monk.
I love that cat. The glasses, man. Greg's always been Greg, no matter
Greg Lewis.
So, I love that cat. So you know, and I was lucky around certain people. I wouldn't really do that, but around other people, I'd get intimidated, or I would just be really bored. You know, I'd be really bored. So, you know, you try to look at your heroes as you get older, and obviously God's got a purpose for me still doing this, man. There's, you know, I'm here for a purpose. I talked to my grandmother today, Greg. She's 101 today.
Wow. Amazing. Congratulations.
All she talked about is, you know, you're here for another day for a purpose. So as far as in New York and the pressure, man, we're designed for pressure and problems and hard life stuff, but we're all that designed. The harder you get pressed, the more you grow. So the thing about New Orleans is sometimes you don't have that pressure, so you don't really grow musically as you could. It's just a different thing, bro. It's totally opposite of New York, and I like both.
Absolutely.
I think Nashville was a good fit because you had a lot of people from all over. You know, you had the country thing, which is to me, I respect it because it's such a tradition. I've never been into that kind of music really, but I respect it. You know, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, all those people, man, just great musicians traveling down a different musical road. But New York, what I miss is the subway smell. Not in the station, but on the subway. You know what I mean? The color is just such a surreal thing. And I love watching people, man. There's no better city to watch people.
It's truth, man.
Yeah. But I mean, learning there and being able to go hear Carl Allen or Benny Green or Christian McBride Big Band or whoever it is you're into, Pat Metheny. I'd see Pat all the time crossing the street in Lincoln.
Wow.
He'd be going to the bookstore, and I would just like, hey, that's Pat Metheny, man. Like, that's just cool. This is, some of your musical heroes just they're just with his children, they're just living their life, man.
Truth, man. Truth.
So you realize, they're not gods, they're just dudes.
Exactly.
Does that answer the question?
No, I thank you for sharing, man. Thank you for sharing, and it's really interesting to hear, your perspective as a comprehensive human being, a total human being, as we're talking about, the environment that you're in. Now you've moved back, to the South, but you've released a record, as this pandemic is starting to lift.
Yeah.
And it's called Redeemed. It's your second time as a leader.
Yeah.
And you've got some special people, but you've got definitely a perspective with this statement in this project. Tell me a little bit about that.
Man, thank you for that, bro. I got two of my closest friends, Peter Martin on piano and Reuben Rogers on bass, both of which have seen me and been by me through all that. And when I say all that, I mean addiction. And so anyone listening is going to be dealing with some type of addiction, bro, whether it's chocolate or too much Facebook or, I got to be like too much Instagram. You have to rest. You have to get out of the ditch and rest, redeem your spirit, and then look at yourself and say, man, what have I been running from? A lot of us run from ourselves. A lot of musicians are playing other people's personality when they play.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Mingus was Mingus, okay, bro? Train was Train. I'm sorry, Miles was always Miles.
Yeah.
And so the consistency, the lack of consistency, I didn't know who I was, really. In New York kind of confused me because I like everything. I mean, I like opera. I like classical Respighi, Panzer Rome. I like Tchaikovsky. I like Duke Ellington, Tchaikovsky. I just want to do it all. So that was confused, and I never had a center. But the redemption record is I've been redeemed. Absolutely. I've been redeemed. I still have my friends. I have a car. I don't lose my wallet, my keys, my phone. I don't apologize to people anymore for stupid crap I did. So that life of trying to be that drummer and trying to be liked by everybody and having different personalities, all that stuff is part of the psychosis of being an artist and an entertainer and all of that. Unless you have a deep center, man, this music world, the world of being a musician, can be very heady. I suggest what's that bass player from he wrote the book, The Music Teacher.
Victor Wooten.
I would totally suggest reading that book. Great book. And that's the perspective, because it'd be like this, Greg. If you and Dara made a meal, okay, you went to the market and you got all these fresh vegetables and you cooked, you had the vegans, you had the meat, you just had it, and you invited some people that you knew and didn't know. And what if they entered your house and they started crawling under your table like, oh, we are not worthy. We are not worthy. No, no, man, God's saying, listen, I prepared this life, this, this music for you to enjoy, to play and to enjoy one another's fellowship as you eat it, as you enjoy your music, as you express your gift, Greg Bryant's gift. Ain't nobody else got Greg Bryant's feel.
Man.
We played Greensboro, and I was like, it was great. It was great, man. That's why I asked Dora to send me just for me.
Yeah.
And so that enjoying of the festivities of the meal that we are worthy to partake in. That's what redemption is for me.
Wow.
Now I feel like I have something to give. I have a very healthy love of myself. I'm not arrogant, and I'm uncomfortable pushing myself, honestly, socially, media-wise, but you have to.
Yeah.
So that challenge of doing that has really helped me get my business skills together, market myself, and Instagram and Facebook, all that can be a great tool. So everything in life is what you do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the message of redemption. So hopefully this music we presented, and it was a week before COVID hit, like really hit.
Wow.
Shut down.
Okay.
Literally, it was March 9th. My dad had just taken his life a month earlier, and I was in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 30 some pounds overweight. So all that ugly, nasty became God's like, I'm gonna redeem that, and I need you to put this music out there and tell people there's hope. You're worthy of being loved, loving yourself, you know, letting your friends love you. You know, that just psychologically your intention when you wake up in the morning, bro.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what the record hopefully will speak. And if somebody's dealing with addiction, you're listening to this, man, hit me up on social media, and I can lead you to some help. I can just listen to you. I mean, I'm here for you, because before we take that eternal dirt nap, man, it's all about the we, man. It's not the me syndrome. It's just like you have to do something for other people.
I did want to ask you. You do have I'll say special guest on this record.
Oh yes,
we could say, you know.
Oh,
we heard about the pianist Peter Martin and the bassist Ruben Rogers.
Yeah,
somebody else on this record too.
Man, look,
tell me about him.
Wow. Okay, Nicholas Payton, musical genius, just the sweetest dude. You know, Nick, I've known Nick since he was a teenager, and we would go to movies sometime together and work out together. And we were like early. And Nick's always been Nick, bro. Constantly Nick. Now that's a dude I'd watch grow and play with Victor Goins every Sunday with Blade and Peter and Chris Thomas.
Wow.
Genesis, that record Genesis.
Yeah.
And so I watched those cats, be it Nicholas's or Antoine's in Martin Butler's house. They had a piano and drums. So Brian and Chris and Nick would be over there shedding all the time. And then they would go play Scrabble at the coffee shop. So Nick was a normal dude, but he was also prolifically always just so prolific on his instrument, but just he knows so much information on music, New Orleans, and just life, man. The last song on the record, he's on Redeemed on the trumpet. And then I said, man, please play Rhodes on just one song. And so 3 Little Words on Rhodes, bro. I mean, if you want to learn some history on piano, just learn his solo off of this 3 Little Words. I mean, there's so much.
I believe it.
It is so swinging. And I didn't realize how killing it was until I've been listening to a lot lately. And me and Chad Anderson, the artist who did the artwork, we're checking it out, who's also a great drummer. We're like, dude, Nick is just he makes me sound great. All these cats do, but man, Nick just brings something that's it's so ethereal, man. Like so
music.
Yeah, it's so musical, but it's so listenable, Greg. Unlike a lot of this, quote unquote music we hear. He is so conscious about how he sounds as he's doing it, which I think he brings that realness and depth and just soulfulness that only comes from a dude that grew up in New Orleans. And his daddy's a bass player.
Sure. Yes.
So touring with his dad, with Leroy Jones playing traditional, makes me understand, Nick, that's foundational for Nick.
Absolutely, man.
So Nick's just a great dude.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But before I let you go, one last question. And you, for those that may not know out there, this guy is one of the kings of brushes on a snare drum. I stand by that. If you could give 1 or 2 tips to drummers trying to figure out how to make brushes really work, they love sticks, but they want to get into this thing and not think about it as washing dishes. They want to bring the specialness out of that format. What are 1 or 2 things that you would? All
right. Okay. So that's a great question. I don't even need brushes to show you, man. The thing about brushes, cats, is they don't care who plays them. All right. This is the head. All right. Notice I'm not doing this.
Right.
Whatever movement you make.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, is that good?
Yep.
Whatever movement you make is going to, the brush will follow your hand. So no matter, don't think of brush back. You think of your hips, moving your hips. But I'm also giving it like a little foom, not just a circle. I got fingers moving. You know, so if you can master this, which means the palm up, you can just master that like you know, and then just give it a little. So I'm like throwing sand. You're throwing, so you were painting, but you're keeping a groove by dancing here, so the brushes will naturally follow your beat. And your beats, the energy's coming out of you. That's what makes it organic, because you feel good, they feel good. Most drummers think of the drums backwards. No, man, you got to come out into what you're doing and let it express. So I would say just practice. Then you just add your quarter note on. Listen to a lot of Vernell
Fournier.
Now, Philly Joe and Elvin Jones, I don't mess with how to teach that because I can't. I don't remotely understand. But you know, I just know that if you make it feel good, then you worry about what you're doing later. Make it feel good first, and then hit me up for a lesson. See, that's how
I like that.
Like that.
I like that.
Hey man, I got a wife now, so yeah, buddy.
Indeed.
You know the deal. Yeah, buddy.
I'll get you to hang on with me for 1 second, man. But it's been a pleasure, man, talking to you, man.
Thank you, Greg, man. Yeah. Yeah, bro.